Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So excited for today's show. I get to see Henry Brown and his beautiful guest live in person here from HLB Life Coaching, which is, of course, a premier service that really helps high-performing athletes with strategic plans to master their craft, achieve their goals. And we are excited to have Henry Brown back here on the show, not only on the show, on the Zoom as well. So I get to see him. And, of course, we want to welcome his beautiful guest as well, Miss Allison Pate. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Fantastic. Let's start off with just a little overview. Of course, new listeners, new viewers each time. Henry, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I am a high performance coach. So what I basically do is I try to actually meet people where they are and try to figure out exactly what it is they're trying to get achieved in their life and actually go at it with them 100% to try to get that level of belief so high that there's no obstacles that's going to get in their way. So that's what I spend a lot of time working one-on-ones with individuals in that manner.
Beautiful. And what is your website? How can we contact you?
You can find me at HLBLIFECOACHING.com, or you can find me at HLB Life Coach on Instagram. I'm also on the social media platform, Facebook, as well as I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, Nextdoor and some other places as well. So
Right. And now let's introduce Allison Pate, your partner in crime. And you're based out of, what is it, in Jacksonville?
Yeah, Jacksonville, Florida.
And tell us what you do.
It's, in a way, it's similar to what Henry does. I focus on the same type of things, but instead of on the individual one-on-one, it's more in the athletic program. The team concept is helping teams create cultures, inclusive cultures, number one, but cultures that promote true athletic development, not just breeding players, but breeding players that are capable of leading and succeeding in their sport and whatever they do in the rest of their lives as well.
Perfect. And by the way, I hear that you two are collaborating with some amazing future sports camps. I want to hear about that. But first and foremost, do you mind giving us a little bit of your background, Allison, and how the two of you, met?
Background, I've spent about 20 years working in basketball. I've done some game day work in different sports, but the heart and soul of my career background has been basketball. I've worked with a couple JUCO junior college men's basketball teams. I've worked with an NCAA Division I women's basketball team. I spent a season with the NBA's G League as a basketball ops intern a little over 10 years ago. I've done camps for multiple NBA players and teams, coaching, a couple of them directing, have run my own camps, do junior NBA events for All-Star Weekend, have worked with one NBA player on one of his community initiatives when he played with the Magic. He was mentoring at schools and helped be the liaison with one of those programs. And just clearly a very diverse background in sports. Have been working game days and a little bit of everything there. Henry found me on LinkedIn, though.
Oh, great. Tell me how the connection happened and when.
We connected on LinkedIn and he sent me a message and we started talking and just realized, it's a very much a values match and we had similar goals for things and started talking about how to collaborate and bring those together to help both of our initiatives out, but also make something bigger as well.
Beautiful. Now, Henry and Allison, the two of you now are going to kind of bring basketball skill and mental development camps to players on all levels, from beginning stages to understanding the game, how to fit within the structured advanced level, and really strategize individual and team enhancement techniques. So we're excited to talk more about how Bold City Sports is here, changing to change. And of course, HLB Life Coaching to really not only set the standard in athletic development, you say, but also changing athletes, coaches, parents, and all those involved to understand the art of the game on the court and beyond. So by the way, got to thank you both for being here and want to talk a little more about athletic development. Henry, Allison, so how do you see basketball clinics contributing to improving fundamental athletic skills such as agility and coordination?
Yeah, I'll fill that first, and then I'll bounce it right back over to Allison because she has that hands-on stuff that she does with players that is just so you can't beat it. What I believe in terms of how you actually develop, how it develops you athletically and beyond, it gives you kind of like that extra edge, that extra sense of confidence but also that a belief in how you can actually affect other teammates around you, which is beyond just the game
Mm-hmm.
itself. And so that's what we really kind of focus on is, okay, how you as an individual, what is that going to look like for you, for sure, with your game, but then how are you going to affect others? And then how's that others going to affect the people around them? And then how that others going to affect that community development thing that's going to happen, which sports has that type of power. We all know it. So we love that piece of it.
Allison, did you want to piggyback and add anything to that?
Yeah, I will. And like the beauty of basketball camps and focusing on that skill development and that the fundamental development, especially, and taking it beyond just actual basketball skills, the agility, the coordination, the mental skills, things like that. Coaches, especially at the youth level, have very limited amount of times that they're able to work with these kids, and you can only get so much done. So how much are you
Yeah.
able to teach? Do you sacrifice teaching fundamentals for teaching team concepts, or vice versa? So being able to put that into a basketball camp or clinic program that is intentional with that development process. And I say that because I think every parent has sent their kid to a camp where it's let's roll out balls and the kids are just kind of doing their own thing and aren't learning as much. But if you're intentional about actually teaching those pieces, then those athletes actually get better at their sport. They gain more confidence. They become more, they're able to contribute more to their teams, and they learn that each piece has a role. You don't have to be the best player on the team to be important on the team and to get the job done so that your team can win.
Got it. Well, look, my 8-year-old, I have a 6 and 8-year-old. He just turned 9 last week. I apologize, but he's in third grade. So he loves basketball. And so we haven't done any clinics or stuff yet, but we just started with this 2 years ago and he really loves it. But you're right. You made me think about all the kids, balls flopping around everywhere. But I mean, at what age, by the way, do these clinics start? For what ages?
We have them, they start as young as about 7.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay.
where and go up to 18, but that's where the developmental stages are a little bit different. Where instead of breaking them down to necessarily, this is the camp. Like, number one, as somebody who's worked camps, I don't want to have 7 to 18-year-olds in the same camp, because then it gets a lot of kids and you aren't necessarily teaching the things that are appropriate for those skill levels. But breaking it down to age and ability, 7-year-olds who have grown up around basketball with parents who have played and have had a ball in their hands since they came out of the crib are at a different stage developmentally than a 7-year-old who's just picking up a ball for the first time.
Got it.
So breaking it down to the ages, you're around kids that are around your age, but also focusing on those developmental levels, like having beginners at a separate clinic. So we're only teaching beginner skills and those type
Mhm.
of things. Your intermediate players, you've been playing for a while, but aren't quite advanced, bringing them in within their age group as well. And same thing for advanced players.
But
Awesome.
I mean, just to kind of wrap it all in together, though, what really is interesting about all those three stages is that at every stage there's an opportunity for growth and development that actually kickstarts the next growth and development, and that's the beauty of these camps, is that you can actually start to see and recognize the athletes and individuals who are really to make that stepping point, or to stand on those principles, or learn in a way that actually helps them connect to their other teammates in a way that actually brings that whole unit together. And that's the beauty of doing it in the way that Allison just described, from beginner to intermediate to that advanced level of camp production.
Awesome. Did you want to dive into the cardiovascular fitness aspect of it, endurance, and some of the positive impacts that this can make on an athlete's balance, flexibility? And there's still so much more to talk about. Teamwork, communication. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump on that one first, because I do have a strength and conditioning background, 25 years of training in that capacity. You definitely see immediately the effects of basketball from any other sport. The moment you touch a ball and you get on that court and you start to run, you understand immediately that there's a little bit of demand that's there that doesn't exist in another sport, whether it's the way you stop and go, the way that you have to make those quick bursts to coming back and forth to a defensive position versus an offensive position. It's all these different elements that go into the game that does condition not just your body, conditions your mind, conditions the
Yeah.
way your attitude, and conditions how you engage with others when stressors are there. So it's all these phenomenal things that we can tap into to help individuals see themselves more and develop themselves more. And that to me is the mindful aspect of the game that enhances the physical aspect.
And
Beautiful.
as I say, it also makes me think of when I've had players who have been injured for a while, or guys who just haven't played in a little bit but want to get back into playing. There's always that question, are you in shape or are you in playing shape? Because those two things are completely different. You can be the most physically fit person in the gym, but if you're not conditioned for that stop and go, like Henry was talking about, or those like offense to defense and just the different muscles, the different endurance that you have to use, the different balance that you have to use to play versus
Yep.
do almost any other workout, it makes such a huge difference. And if you're only working on skills and not working on that strength and conditioning piece, you're missing a huge part of your development, because you're not going to be able to go for 30 to 40 minutes a game, and you may be needed for that long.
Yeah. Well, also, did you want to give us some specific details about drills, clinics, and the overall, athleticism beyond the sport, and how that can really target and help achieve, better athletic development?
Yeah, I could start that. I'll start it a little bit, then I'll let Allison jump on it, but then I'll jump back on it again as well. But like, yeah, there are plenty of them. Just
Mhm.
from a mindfulness position alone, the best thing that I would tell a player they can do is truly kind of get within themselves deep
Yep.
and hear that inner voice when a coach is talking to them. Understand specifically, how can I put myself in this position to
Yep.
actually utilize that skill set or those skills or that development that is taking place. I mean, and I know little kids may not get that concept, but bigger kids and older adults certainly do. And then and if you're in that same environment, that's that energy from those sharing moments actually start to reverberate around. So you'll start to see that this is what the beauty of the game is about. That rhythm that comes, everybody flows on it. No matter what level you are within that game, you just kind of pick up on some of that energy, and you either love it or you enjoy it, or you say, okay, well, this is probably not for me.
Gotcha. Got
And
it.
And if we're talking specific type drills like ladder drills, I mean, even yoga can help with balance and flexibility. Any kind of drills that have you sprinting or stop and go speeds. There are certain shooting drills can be used as a strength and conditioning piece because of the different skills that it's working, the different places that you're shooting, the different spots that you're running to, certain defensive drills with the defensive slides and working on backpedaling
Yep.
and sprinting to
Mhm.
close out and stop quickly in that sense. Any of those specific drills can help with footwork. It can help with your speed. It can help with your ability to stop and go. It can increase your endurance and just create some of that muscle memory in other areas as well, so that your body is prepared when you step out on the court.
Perfect. And before we talk more about cultural enhancement, community connections, could you remind us how we can reach out to you? Thank you.
Yeah, so for myself, you can reach me at HLBLIFECOACHING.com, or you can reach me on Instagram at HLBLifeCoach, or you can also reach me on my cell at 920-573-8332.
Perfect. And did you want to share your contact information?
I can definitely do that. Our website is theboldcitysports.com, and we are on Instagram and Facebook as BC Sports for Change. I guess I can give, I'm like, did the personal or cell number? I'm so conditioned to give
That's
the
okay.
personal number because that's what I've been using since I was in college. So in that respect, I can also be reached at 443-910-1566.
Perfect. All right. So what did you want to talk to us about cultural enhancement in a sense of cultural diversity, inclusivity? Who wants to take that discussion to start?
Yeah, I guess I can jump on that one as well from a cultural perspective. Like the one thing that I love about this game, and I love about sports in general, but specifically basketball. Basketball has this ability to cross multitudes of cultures, whether that's from a country's perspective, or from an individual perspective, or from a part of of an area that you grew up, or just even just your mentality about like how you think of the game. All that stuff is interacting, interceding, if you will, within the game of basketball. And when you see teams that are actually bringing pieces of that stuff together within themselves and allowed to be coached, that is a beautiful thing. So we try, at least, try to think of it as, okay, if you can take that same energy from that game or from this sport and actually put that also within your environment around you, what does that look like? So that's from my perspective, how I see we can shift the mindset of an athlete when they think about that culture aspect.
Got it. And what did you want to add to that?
To say, and it's not just cultures and bringing people together around the world. It's also like it's genders, male and female, and everything else. It brings everybody together in that sense, but it is also rooted in having a good program culture, because a great program culture is where that inclusivity and that diversity and that championship culture wanting to lead to success, not just on the court, but off the court. That program culture is where the heart of that starts and then spreads out from there to impact not just your team, your wins and your losses, but your players, your communities, your families, all of those pieces.
Beautiful. And would you say participating in basketball clinics can really build cultural competency and respect among athletes and coaches?
Oh, definitely.
I
Because
agree. I'm like, I
Yeah,
know that
no,
answer, but I'm just
no
going
doubt
by a
about it.
script. I'm like, I just want to make sure this is good
Yes.
conversation, but we need to bring this up.
Definitely,
No doubt
definitely,
about it.
because you're bringing more kids and families together that wouldn't necessarily like come together if they're not on the same team, because teams are a limited number of roster spots, and so you've got this one core group of people that are together, whereas basketball camps, you can bring hundreds of kids together and families together at the same time to meet and to work together and to learn new things and learn different people. But it also adds to the culture of teams and programs, because if you're teaching kids values and if you're teaching kids the right positive mindset to have on the court or on the field, if we're extending this to other sports, like however you're doing it, these are the kids that then go into those programs and contribute to that program culture and teach it to other kids who may not have already learned those pieces as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
absolutely. Piggybacking on that fully. I mean, that to me is one of the most beneficial things about sports. It really do allow you to kind of take a piece of yourself and learn something completely different than you probably didn't realize you were going to learn beforehand, and actually be a part of something bigger than yourself. But at the same time, have that individuality that you can actually utilize and push also to make things work and make people feel included, and it grows and it just fosters. So to me, that is the most wonderful thing about this game, and this game is what I love the most. So if you have that coming off of what's happening when you building out, wow, like I mean that is specifically where we want to be in terms of how we teach in clinics.
Beautiful. And did you want to add any more info about maybe some initiatives or clinics that aim to kind of bridge these cultural gaps and promote unity, which is so important?
I'm going to steal Allison Thunder right here. I've watched her on video
Aw,
actually do games with her athletes. It has zero to do with them playing their sport, but you can see like the light bulbs going off in these kids' heads and how they're interacting with each other has changed or shifted. And that to me is like such a powerful thing to see. You can take something outside of what you quote unquote trying to accomplish and do it in a different environment and do it in a different manner and still have these connections that are occurring. And that was very fascinating when I saw her doing stuff like that with her teams. Like it was new concept.
And that's what he's talking about as part of our business model. We do team building and leadership development with programs. And team building, of course, there's the discussion part. You talk about like all of the concepts of being a great team and all of that, but it comes down to applying that knowledge as well. And so he's seen a lot of the team building
yeah.
activities that we do with the groups that we work with. And it's it's different because when you're on the court or the field, you're so conditioned to think about the sport itself, and you don't truly, like, you get so focused on the sport that you miss some of those dynamics, like working together and getting better at things, and who's stepping up to lead, and is everybody contributing. But then when you take the sport out of it and start putting them into different activities, and for some things it's whole group activities, for other things it's break them up into small groups and make them compete against each other. And even I get the coaches involved. The coaches have to do it as well. Like they don't get to
Yeah.
sit and watch. Like they have
Yeah.
to. Are you better at working together than your kids are? Like,
Exactly right.
let's show how we do this. And of course, the kids love that, because when the kids are better than
Yeah.
are beating the coaches in these competitive
That's something
activities.
to be proud of. That's for
But
certain.
it's like, it's really awesome to see them kind of come out of their shells, because people who may not be as confident on the court or the field, especially in a leadership aspect, may find that confidence in another activity, something that is more on their level of understanding or their skill set. And then that confidence, they start to get involved and they start to interact more, and their voice is heard, and they're participating. And so you see that, or they're thinking, you give them these complex problems to solve as a group, you start to see them work together more to solve it, instead of, okay, well, this is my position and this is what I'm supposed to do on the court or the field. It's like, okay, wow, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, so how can I figure it out, and how can I help my teammates? It's just it's a really fun process to watch, and to see them start to have fun doing these things that make them better as a team on the court or field.
Yeah, it
Beautiful.
becomes completely contagious, and that trust factor just goes out the window. And
Yeah.
Lynn, you can literally see it in real time happening with these players, and that's the beauty of it. And it has nothing to do with the game itself. So when they're playing the game, that is easier because that's something that they already know how to do. They've been learning and doing that. Some of them since 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years old. So now you add that extra layer of confidence, that extra layer of communication, that extra layer of authenticity with how they interact with each other. That team becomes so much more of a oneness structure that every coach would just salivate for.
Yes.
And it's a skill set that they can take to everything else in life as well,
Yeah,
because whether it's
absolutely.
school or whether it's work, we've all had to participate in group projects in school, or something that you're working with, a project that you're working on at your job with somebody else. And let's face it, sometimes we're put in groups with people we don't know or people we don't like, and figuring out how to work together, like thrown into something where you have to problem solve with other people, whether you know them well or like them at all. It's not about how well you know somebody or how well you like them. It's how can we work together to solve this problem regardless of all those other factors. And so that skill set goes so far beyond just the sport.
Got it. And by the way, we want to talk a little bit about community connections. I'm not sure we're going to have time to get into all of it, but just to, because we have to go in 2 minutes, but just a brief overview of how you believe these clinics contribute to building a sense of community. Could we touch upon that if that's okay? And then hopefully we'll be together again soon. We can maybe finish up the rest of this conversation.
Yeah, I'll touch lightly so Alex can have the rest of this show, but there's no doubt that the impact of a team actually working together in a cohesive unit has a profound impact on their community. Beyond the game, again, they can go out and actually start to interact and help do things that maybe that other groups could not be able to do because of the recognition, because of that connectivity they're bringing for them for outside of their own team within their community themselves. So it's a phenomenal thing.
And just to keep it super simple, it brings people together. It brings kids together. It brings families together. It brings coaches together to build that community and to learn the skills and the character traits and the leadership qualities to take outside of those camps and clinics and put back into their own communities as well.
Perfect. And obviously, I know basketball is very instrumental, right? Kind of fosters a spirit of volunteerism, civic responsibility as well. Do you want to add a little on that and the morale of the community that it brings?
Yeah, so I'm a huge Magic Johnson fan. I just love Magic more than I can ever equate in words, and so many times. But like, I love the fact that he smiled. And when he smiled, everyone knew it was very genuine. They just knew that this man was like loving what he was doing. So for me, that's how most athletes can actually project and portray themselves in terms of like how they have that impact within their community and how that actually affects people in a positive manner. We all love sports. We just do. I mean, look what happened with the Green Bay Packers in the Dallas Cowboy game last night. That was amazing for people here in Wisconsin. So like, if you have that type of impact, and as an individual being a part of that type of team setting, you going out in your community, it is so profound.
Perfect. Well, how can we reach out to you? Would you mind sharing again the website, contact information?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm at HLBLIFECOACHING.com, or you can find me on Instagram at HLBLifeCoach. You can hit me on my cell phone at 920-573-8332.
And Allison?
Our website is theboldcitysports.com, and we are on Instagram and Facebook as BC Sports for Change.
Yay!
Cell number is 443-910-1566.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for being here, and happy new year. We are in the new year, and I love that 2024 sign I'm seeing, Henry. But pleasure having you back. Great to meet you, and looking forward to the next time we get to connect, okay? Thanks again for today's conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you. Have a great day. To all of our listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.